Minutes, December 15th. Public Safety Activity Summary Reports for December and January. Request to advertise for bids for Program Year 2021 Yard Services Program, M744. H, request to advertise for bids for 2021 8-mile pump station pump replacement project, M732. I, request to change the Traffic Safety Board meeting time from 7 p.m. to 6 p.m. and continue to meet the third Wednesday of each month. J, request to approve a resolution of support for the 2022 Tri-Party Program and authorize the submission of funding for repairs to Greenfield Road. K, request to have the Transportation Improvement Authority, the TIA, conduct pedestrian studies at 10 Mile and Coolidge and Lincoln and Coolidge. Finally, L, licenses new and renewals submitted for March 7th, 2022. All those in favor of items on the consent agenda, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carried. We have two elected officials we can welcome, and we will start with our state senator, Jeremy Moss. Welcome to Oak Park. Come on down. We have State Senator Jeremy Moss and Representative State Rep Regina Weiss.
Good evening, Mayor and Council and Administration. We're very excited to give you kind of an update here of what's going on in Lansing. I'm Jeremy Moss, the State Senator for the southern end of Oakland County, including here in Oak Park. And I guess I won't bury the lead here. The way that the new lines were drawn take me out of a district that includes Oak Park. I am grieving this loss. I was thinking, you know, Oak Park, I live in Southfield. Oak Park and Southfield have been in a Senate district for ever. I think Sandy Levin was the joint senator here, Gary Peters, Gilda Jacobs, Vince Gregory, and myself. So it's just, it's tough to break up these two communities which are so tied together. I grew up in Southfield, but I also practically grew up in Oak Park too. So I'm very upset about it, but we're going to make sure that there's good representation continuing forward. So with that, we wanted to provide an update of some of the items that we've been working on behalf of Oak Park in Lansing as state senator and state representative. I serve on the policy making committees in Lansing, so I have a little bit of a different view on what goes on. Rep Weiss serves on the appropriation, the budget making committee, so she's got a lot of numbers to go over. So many numbers. But I'll talk a little bit about what I'm working on the policy side. As you might know, I'm this ethics transparency hawk in Lansing, and we've just seen time and time again where we've had issues with legislators running afoul of laws and rules in Lansing. Especially recently, we're dealing with some fallout from a scandal from a former Speaker of the House in the Michigan legislature. And I, time and time again, have pushed to include Michigan in our state's open records laws. Anyone here can come to City Council and request Freedom of Information Act form and fill out and get information from City Hall. The city is compelled by law to provide you information. So are school boards, so are state departments, but the state legislature and the governor's office are not subjected to FOIA, are not subjected to the Open Meetings Act, or to the Open Records Act. And that's where it's really been problematic during my tenure in Lansing. I think about the Flint water crisis, where we knew there was information being discussed, but people did not have access to that information. And now we're dealing with a scandal from a former Speaker of the House, where they are diving into some of his communications and emails, and we can only get access to it once an investigation occurs, and by then it's too late. So I've written time and time again in my several terms in the legislature, legislation to at long last subject Michigan's legislature and the governor's office to the Freedom of Information Act. We're one of two states that don't allow its residents to have access to that information. And as a result, that's one of the reasons why we're dead last on all these rankings of ethics, accountability, and transparency. So I'm going to continue to renew this call. Continue to renew the call for campaign finance reform. We're going through this issue again in Lansing, where we're trying to determine where the campaign finance law is broken. And I think that these are foundational to our democracy, that the citizens have information to what government does, and the citizens have the best information on how to change government actors and in particular participate in our elections. Unfortunately, we've also seen a lot of bills moving through the legislature, 38 of them through the state Senate, that would change the rules of voting and in most cases make it harder to vote in the state of Michigan. We've seen this around the country. Michigan is not immune from this movement. And so the 38 bills have made the process harder from the way you register to vote all the way up to how your vote is counted. And I can think of two examples that are digestible of what I'm talking about. One of them is how you request an absentee ballot. These bills would compel a Michigan resident to put more information on the form in order to prove who they are and request that absentee ballot. One of the things that they want to require on that envelope as you submit your form to request an absentee ballot are the last 4 digits of your Social Security number. And as our clerk here knows, that's not required to be in the voter file, your Social Security number. So you're going to give up your personal and private information to somebody who does not have access to utilize it to cross-reference. And then it's bad enough that they're making it harder to vote on your absentee ballot, but they also want to make it harder to vote on election day itself. And one of the things that was part of this legislation was to require that even if you are standing in front of your election worker and you're at the polling place itself and you have your ID with you, so you can verify who you are, you're signing in, you're going to request your ballot, and you have your ID with you, although you don't have to have it, you do have it with you. If your signature signing in does not match what the election worker has from who knows what's on the voter file, they can turn you away and not give you a ballot that counts, even though you're standing there, you have your ID, you're in the voter rolls. It could just be one rogue election worker who doesn't like how your signature looks and could give you a ballot that might not count in the end. So we've fought against these bills that have made it harder for folks to participate in our democracy. The governor has vetoed everything that's come over her desk, but there are obviously those who are trying to go around the legislature and around the governor's office for a ballot proposal, and people who collect petitions on this or anything else are not compelled to tell you the truth about the contents of their petition. They could tell you it's for voter access when it's really for voter suppression. And I've introduced legislation to require truth-telling, honesty in petitioning here in the state of Michigan. So that has not passed, unfortunately, and we're still trying to push that forward. But we want to make sure everybody is careful as petitions are coming out there and there are ballot proposals popping up. Read the contents of your petition so that you know what you're signing, because somebody who hands out a petition is not compelled to tell you the truth. And we're seeing some of those hijinks happen. That's one of our bills in the package. So one of the things that you can do now is you can pay people per signature that they get. Well, that's kind of this financial incentive to say anything to get people to sign on. We don't mind, and we have in law in our bills that we're proposing that you could pay someone a flat fee, you could pay someone by the hour, but we want to remove that paid by the signature so that there's no financial incentive for somebody to not tell the truth in order to get more and more signatures. So that's kind of what I'm working on this election space, preserving your right to vote, restoring honesty. I'll close with talking about some practical things as we dealt with a massive amount of storms last summer heading into the fall. We know that there have been flooded basements. We know that there is a lot of damage caused in our southern part of Oakland County. And as a result, we joined with both House Democrats and Senate Democrats to introduce our climate resiliency plan to ensure that as we see these extreme weather events continue to happen in our area, we have the infrastructure that meets it. So among some of the legislation that we've introduced in this area is we would create a climate resiliency corps. So to create partnerships to employ Michigan residents in these climate resiliency projects. We want to create a weatherization and disaster relief navigator grant program, a one-stop shop for residents and municipalities to understand what resources are available following an extreme weather event. We want to create a state weatherization program to help low-income residents. We want to create a weatherization coverage in low-income home energy assistant block grants. We want to require that environmental permits before building, we would require that environmental permits are in place before building a new state highway or trunk line infrastructure. And then also we want to require that the water utilities have a backup power source if the primary source fails. That would prevent pumping stations from running out of power in a flood. We saw that happen last summer. So these are some of the things we're working on in our own neighborhoods here in Oak Park to ensure that we are resilient to these extreme weather events that keep impacting us here in our community. And that was a result of the storms that we all suffered through last summer. So those are the policy end of things. I probably took up way too much time. And I can kick it over on some of the budget items to our state representative, Regina Weiss.
Thank you, Senator. And I gotta say, this is a wonderful city council. I realized when I came in here, I don't believe I've been in this room since I was sitting where Councilmember Burns is sitting right now, because we were on Zoom for so long. And then when I came to council meetings to visit as a state rep, it was on Zoom. So it's wonderful to be back and to be on the other side of things. Just wanted to give a couple quick updates on the budget. And so we are in full-blown budgeting process right now. As Senator Moss mentioned, I serve on appropriations on the House side. I am the minority vice chair of the school aid subcommittee and Michigan Department of Education. So I'm the ranking Democrat on that committee. So a lot of my focus is on the budget, and particularly on the education budget. Recently the governor put out her executive recommendation for how we should be appropriating these dollars that we have at the state level. And there's a lot in it. I'm not going to go through all the things, but I did want to share a few highlights that I think are particularly pertinent for local government. Because I know that when I was on council, this is when we talked about a lot, which is revenue sharing. And how local communities have really been shorted for a really long time. And in the executive recommendation, there is a large proposed increase in both constitutional state revenue sharing payments as well as total statutory funding. And so there is a 5% proposed one-time increase, and then also a 5% proposed ongoing increase for revenue sharing in the executive recommendation. There's also, this doesn't affect Oak Park because Oak Park actually grew from the last census for the first time in a very long time. But many, yes, that's worth applause, but many communities did not and lost population. And so there was also a clawback in there for communities that lost population, so they didn't have to pay back the state for that loss in population. As I mentioned, I sit on appropriations, so there's a lot of funding in the budget for education. Last year, we passed a historic K-12 budget, the first time, the largest amount of money we've ever appropriated for K-12 in Michigan's history. The first time in Michigan's history that we actually closed the funding gap. And we also increased the amount that students get per pupil dramatically across the board. The governor in this budget has proposed an even more historic budget than what we saw last year. So an $18.4 billion overall investment into education. That has a lot of great stuff in it. And 5% kind of appears a lot in this executive recommendation across the board in a lot of these things. So a 5% increase in per pupil funding, 5% increase in at-risk funding and funding for English language learners and at-risk students. And also there's a portion in this budget that appropriates money to help address the teacher shortage, which we know is a huge crisis in Michigan. So money for teacher recruitment, teacher retention. There is a proposal to give every educator in the state of Michigan a $2,000 bonus for the next 2 years, and then the third year, $3,000 bonus, and the fourth year, a $4,000 bonus if they stay in the classroom. So a way to try to keep teachers teaching. There's also a large increase in mental health coverage and lots of things across the board. And so, like I said, it's a lot of really good things that the governor is proposing. We still have to negotiate this budget. It still has to be negotiated across the House and the Senate. So this process is going to go on for a few months. But I'm hoping that we see something positive come out of that. And I'm also hopeful that, unlike last year, we're able to get the budget passed in a timely manner, because I know We did it for schools. We did it for the school aid budget last year. We got it passed before July so districts could set their budget. But I know local communities had a hard time doing that because we passed the budget so late. So it is an election year, so I make no promises on that, but we will definitely be pushing for it. I did also want to say just a quick note on redistricting. My district is also changing a lot. I obviously live in Oak Park, so you can't really get rid of me. But Oak Park is split in the new map into 3 different House districts. So for people who are at home who don't know that, the city is now in 3 different House districts. And so I believe it's District 14 is Precinct 9. So if you live in Oak Park Precinct 9, you're drawn into a precinct that's predominantly with the city, a portion of the city of Southfield. And then Oak Park west of Coolidge is in the new District 5, and Oak Park east of Coolidge is in the new District 6. And that's where I am. So that's where I'm running, is in the new District 6. So just so people know, districts have changed pretty dramatically, so it's important to figure out what
We
the
have a
new
question
district
for
looks
you.
like. Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't want to, I have a question for
Yeah.
you, Representative. I was hoping that you could give us an update on the retirement funding bill.
Yes, in terms of where it stands right
Yeah.
now. Well, we had a hearing on it. It's yet to kind of go across both the House and the Senate. We did have we did pass it, or I'm trying to remember if did it pass through the Senate?
I don't know.
Okay.
Which,
The Albert bill.
oh, no.
No, okay. Yeah, so we've had a hearing on that in the House. We've had some movement on it, but it's not negotiated with the governor. So I don't believe that even if that were to move, that it would likely, because what the governor has said is there was also a large proposed tax cut for, originally it was a corporate tax cut and also a flat income tax cut, as well as some other tax cuts thrown into that. That changed form various times, but the governor has said she's not signing it. She's not going to sign anything that's not negotiated. And as far as I know, that is yet to be negotiated. Yeah. All right. And the other thing, too, I wanted to make sure everyone knew as well, few bill things that I'm working on the legislative side of things. I am the secretary of the Labor Caucus, and we just introduced a large 34-packet bill to expand and enhance collective bargaining rights in the state of Michigan, and also expand worker protections as well. And it's 34 bills, so I'm not going to go into all of them. But I will say my bill in the package would create a blue ribbon commission that would seriously look at the economics behind school finance reform and municipal finance reform, including looking closely at Proposition A, which Senator Moss sponsored on the Senate side as well. And I also introduced part of a bill package to reform Michigan election law and the Michigan Home Rule Act to allow for local municipalities to be able to implement ranked choice voting if they choose to do so. That's something that Ferndale voted on back in 2004, but they've never been able to implement just because of some restrictions within election law that are really only technical. And so we introduced some bills to fix that as well. So if voters decided they wanted to have that system, they would be able to do so. And then the last thing I wanted to say is that it is March is Reading Month, and so we're going around to schools and reading books to kids, which is always fun. And one of the things that I'm implementing, I did last year as well, is a book drive for students in Berkeley, Ferndale, Oak Park, and Hazel Park schools. And so this is in partnership with the Book Beat, which is a wonderful bookstore in Oak Park. Hopefully everyone in this room has heard of Book Beat and has been there. But if you go to Book Beat and purchase a children's book for the book drive anytime in the month of March, it will go to a classroom in either Berkeley, Oak Park, Ferndale, or Hazel Park schools. And we can answer any other questions if everyone has any.
I have a question.
Councilmember Radner.
Senator, are you still going to proudly sponsor July as Michigan Craft Beer Month?
That's, yeah, absolutely. I will absolutely, we
even
have
if it
these
means-
commemorative resolutions. Craft Beer Month is my favorite, as you know, for July.
Even if it means changing the rules to do so.
Yes, exactly right. Be forcefully in support of that.
Thank you both for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming. Appreciate it.
Thanks.
Item 7 on the agenda is a special presentation, the Sidewalk Improvement Program. Everyone is always excited when the Sidewalk Improvement Program comes to their neighborhood, and it seems like it's out of the blue because it's only once every 17 years. But when it comes, it's costly, and there are always questions about whether this square of sidewalk is really in bad shape or not, and why are we fixing it? So to answer all of your questions, we have Director Rob Barrett.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, Mayor, Council, City Manager Tungate. That was a great introduction, and you covered a lot of information. We've been running a sidewalk program since the 1990s. We used to do a sidewalk program every year, and then through about 10 years, once we completed the whole city in a series, we backed off a little bit, and we're running a sidewalk program every other year. So the area we're in right now, which is, I'd say north of, Oak Park Boulevard and east of Rosewood, we haven't been in that area since 2010. So it's been 22 years since we've been here. A little history about this area. Back in 2020, we were scheduled to be in there, and we took it out because of budget concerns and some things that were going on during that time. Scheduled it for 2021, and we were a little bit in the heat of COVID, and we heard from our residents and reacted appropriately and delayed this for another year.
Because we listen to our residents in Oak Park.
All right, so this has been kicked down the road till 2022. So with that, I'll give you a brief presentation here. We're doing this, is actually called the 2021 Sidewalk Replacement Program. And why do you want to have a sidewalk program is you want to have safe sidewalks. And most definitely you want to be pedestrian friendly, in compliance with our Complete Streets program, our master plan, and lastly, Americans with Disabilities Act. Having a sidewalk program is following best practices for the MML risk liability studies for when you're being sued. And I think Attorney Duff can agree that we haven't faced that many lawsuits, fortunately, and we defend ourselves rock solid because we have a rock solid sidewalk replacement program. And when we talk about costs for the sidewalk program, it's all of our costs collectively. So when we get sued, they get sued, and the city gets sued, it's everybody's money, and we've shown significant savings there, and we've really done quite well in defending ourselves. As I mentioned, here's our area, and you can see from the map right here, in the small year underneath there, that was 2010 that we were last in this area, and we're in here now in 2022. Many council members are new. If you look at our last sidewalk program, was north of 10 Mile in 2018. So it's been a while since we've done something, but we've been through some trying times. Here's our, part of the criteria for having a sidewalk program is you need a set criteria. You can't go up to a house and arbitrarily say, this is not that, this isn't this. So we have criteria that's clearly drawn out, and most residents understand settlement or raised flags. They understand some cracks, and they understand severe spalling. When we start getting into cross slopes or longitudinal slopes and different issues with that, they see a perfectly good piece of concrete out there that they think we're replacing for no reason. So that backs us up to Americans with Disability Act. And just here's a picture just illustrating, if you can imagine, what it's like to be having disability and to navigate a sidewalk here. This photo makes it almost look impossible for somebody to transverse through this area. So a couple things we're looking for is we're a 2% max slope. So right here's an illustration, somebody walking on the sidewalk. If it goes beyond 2%, most of us won't have a problem navigating that. But somebody with a disability will have a very difficult time navigating a 2% cross slope. So the cross slope has to be 0% is what the spec says in ADA, but they leave a tolerance up to 2%. So you want 2% generally and almost always tipping towards the street. But then we get some tree roots and they pick these slabs up and they move them back towards the house, and then you have somebody trying to transverse the sidewalk and they're going 0 to 2% and then they're going this way. It gets very difficult to do. So here's a good illustration of what it could feel like or even look like to be disabled and trying to maneuver a sidewalk in the extreme
Doesn't it
cross slope.
also puddle up on the low end and ice over?
Yep, and you got water and ice problems and other issues like that. We look at everything. We're not out just to replace sidewalk. We consider mud jacking, we consider grinding and so forth, but if you can look at this picture, this illustration right now with ADA compliance in mind, if you mud jack the picture in the forefront up, you're still tilting the sidewalk the wrong way, and then most of the sidewalk's going out to the street. So even though you think you can just get rid of the trip hazard, but we're looking at a complete program here to meet ADA requirements. And it's worth noting that the ADA Act requires you to improve the sidewalk to ADA requirements anytime you alter the sidewalk. So if you look out on Oak Park Boulevard or any of our other projects, whenever we do a construction project, you'll notice the handicap ramps to get them down flat enough for somebody with a disability to operate. We've got these mini walls because you're actually cutting down into the grade and the grass is going up, so you got these things here. So this is an important part. So, and I'll tell you, mud jacking typically costs more and they won't guarantee the work. They can't meet ADA requirements. Before we started our program 3 weeks ago, we called and it's $75 a flag with a $400 minimum when we called for ballpark prices. And then here we go. This is what I talked about is the longitudinal slope, where many of our sidewalk ramps are not in compliant right now with longitudinal slopes because it exceeds 8%. Just to get down into the street, you got to have this really steep ramp. And just an illustration of what a struggle it is for somebody to get through life when you have a disability. We need to keep it at a max of 8%. And this is sometimes where you look and you'll see there's nothing wrong with this sidewalk. And this is a good example of many of our handicap ramps that have that mini wall there. So this year's program, here's some facts. We advertised it last year in February, 2021. We awarded the program, we're proceeding with the program, and that's where we, as the mayor mentioned, we listened to our residents and we put a hold on this program because of COVID. We're very fortunate that the contractor that bid on this program, and if you understand rapid inflation and construction costs nowadays, agreed to maintain the current rates of the contract that we agreed to in February 21. So I can't understate that. It's just the rate of inflation right now is so high, I can only imagine what we'd be paying for sidewalk. So we awarded it in March last year. In February, we mailed out the sidewalk cards, FAQ, frequently asked questions, a finance flyer, and both of them two things I just mentioned have been added onto the program, where within the last 10 years we put a comprehensive FAQ that goes out to try to answer questions. And then it was very fortunate because you can go out and you can do a sidewalk re-inspection and meet with the residents and they understand everything, but then it's just a matter of money sometimes, you know, and we did not have a finance program, I think, until 2016 or 18. So having this option out there gives us a little relief to the residents. It's still hard to bear. It's a program you have to do, but this financing option is awesome. Currently, we are re-inspecting the sidewalk, which is anybody that got a sidewalk card, they're encouraged, and it's in the mailer information, to call us. And our city engineer, Kara Grissomer, and myself have met with residents this morning, and we go out and we meet with them. We explain everything going on, and we answer all their questions, and we do a reevaluation of the sidewalk. And the reevaluation is looking at it again. We have a really good inspector that can walk the streets and just say, this one is this slope, that slope. She has a perfect eye. We go out there, we'll look at it, we'll put levels on it, we'll sit with the homeowner, we'll explain all the ADA requirements and give them a great amount of communication, better understanding of the program. So any questions, we strongly urge any resident to call us, and we'll happily meet them out there and explain everything going on. So we're scheduling that all through March. We're going to start construction in April, and we expect it to be completed in June.
Director, does the city make money on this program?
You know, I should have put that in the presentation, because that is a very good point. A lot of surrounding communities have administrative markups on their sidewalk program. City Council, during some of our trying times, have considered that, because it takes a lot of time of city resources to put this through. We tie up a lot of city money and so forth, and our council and leadership have decided not to put any type of administrative markups. So when the contractor bills us $200, because they put $200 with the sidewalk in, we go through all the effort, all the inspection, make sure everything's right, run a program, and then just send out an invoice straight up, $200.
I can find somebody who can do it real cheap. What are the problems I should look for?
So basically, you know, we're dealing with large quantities, and I have a lot of experience in this, and just if somebody outbids a contractor, a professional contractor that we hired that on a $600,000 project, there's a lot of caveats. So really screen them really careful. We've had a group of 2 or 3 neighbors before that would hire a contractor, and somehow they talked him into prepaying. And we go out there and he just poured it wet and let it set, didn't put any control joints in there, did not follow any AD requirements. And it was very sad and hard to explain to him, I'm sorry, but this work is worse than what it was before. We need to replace it. And those homeowners ended up paying for it twice. So buyer beware. If you can find somebody cheaper, you're welcome to do it, but buyer beware.
Madam Mayor, may I ask a question?
Yes, please.
Well, one point, I do want to make one point and then one question. The fact that I just want to applaud you for the fact that you're able to keep that price that we were quoted last year. Inflation is at a 40-year high, higher than it's ever been even in my lifetime since the 70s and 80s. So that the fact that you can do that is amazing. The question I have is, are there payment plans and payment options or financing options for our residents?
That's a very good question. And let me finish the last point on this side, and I think it's on the next one. Lastly, when we're done in June, we're gonna mail out the sidewalk invoices. It'll have a due date of August 31st. You have up to that time to pay it. If you don't pay it by that date, it goes into a roll of taxes motion, and then by the spring of 2023, we roll the taxes. I think you can still pay on it penalty-free up until that time. Once they start to roll it to taxes in the spring of next year, you'll be facing 10% or whatever.
10%.
So, Councilmember Whitehead, we have, this is what I was talking about earlier. In 2016, we approved these finance options. So, as I just explained, for anything up to $1,000, you basically have 12 months, because you could pay this interest-free with nothing up to $1,000 by next March, and there will be no penalties or anything on there. But if you get an invoice between $1,000 and $2,000, we will finance it for 2 years at an interest rate of 6%. And anything over $2,000, we're talking 3 years at 6%. When you get your bill, there'll be information and phone numbers to contact finance. They take over the program after we're done, and they'll give you the information to fill out in the application, everything to work out the financing. Questions?
Yes, Madam Mayor, I have a question.
Yes. Mayor Pro Tem.
So what is the average life of a sidewalk slab?
That's a very open-ended question. I would say probably depends on a lot of factors, what you're looking at. You know, the tree roots and the conditions, the sewers and the conditions, how much salt it's involved in, and how much freeze-thaw cycle. But I would expect a good 20-year life out of a slab of sidewalk.
So basically, every 17 years, we're doing a section, but we have to come back around every 17 years and just do the same thing over and over again, right?
Correct. And with that, let me make a quick point on that. It's like maintenance. You know, a lot of people complain about the trees, but you know, our trees are what Oak Park is. We have some beautiful tree-lined boulevards, and you know, a resident may be short-sighted and see, I want this tree cut down because it's the one doing all this work, but, you know, you're cutting down basically a priceless tree to defer $400 worth of maintenance every 20 years. So we do not allow anybody to cut down a tree. When a contractor does the work, they'll pull the flags, a sidewalk out, a piece of sidewalk out. They'll grind all the roots down as deep as they can go without hurting the tree and replace the sidewalk. And they'll come back, and we'll have to come back and more likely replace the same ones, but we have a beautiful tree and we just deferred some of the more maintenance.
The tree adds value to your property.
Yeah, absolutely.
And if a resident sees a slab that is in disrepair but is not part of the program this time around, that person can just call the city and the city will come out, right? And maybe replace it?
Correct. Well, it's similar to our sidewalk program and our ordinance, which is very typical to most communities in this area, is that they'll still be responsible for the cost of maintaining their sidewalk, but if there's a sidewalk flag outside of our area, it gets reported to us. It goes onto our miscellaneous concrete program. The prices are a little higher, but once we get something reported to us, we have a legal or liable obligation to address that, and we'll go out and assess the property and have them pick up their property and make sure everything's meeting our sidewalk replacement criteria.
Thank you.
And it's a little higher because they have all their equipment in one place, and it's more cost-effective to do all the ones that are nearby than
Right.
rather go out and do 2 slabs somewhere else.
Last, I'd just like to point out, we did do 14 re-inspections today. And what we prepared, just because this is about as popular as water bills and taxes, okay? So we have a little handout for mayor and council if you have anything, but the best question is to call us, or the best answer is to call us, send us out, let us do a re-inspection and meet and talk to the resident.
This department is so responsive and so willing to come out and talk to you and explain things to you. Every city department in every city should be this good.
Thank you.
Oh, good. So this is the letter that the residents got about the sidewalk program, frequently asked questions, how you can finance it, and I did not realize that up to $500 you have 12 months interest-free. So in a way, that is a finance program. Up to $1,000, right. Up to $1,000, right. And a sample card of what you would get. Very nice. Having sidewalks makes our city more desirable. You don't want your little kids riding their bikes in the street, so having sidewalks and streetlights is an amenity that not every city has. And it hurts in the pocketbook when we have to fix it, but like the trees, it is a plus. And we're delighted and blessed. We don't have public hearings or communications. We're down to item 11, accounting reports. We need approval for payment of an invoice submitted by Schiffman Fournier for legal services retainer for April 1st, 2022 to June 30th in the total amount of $18,000. And for those who are listening, we pay a quarter ahead for these attorney fees. Is there a motion, please? Thank you. Councilmember Burns. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Councilmember Whitehead. Discussion. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Burns,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Edgar,
Yes.
Mayor McClellan,
Yes.
Councilmember Radner,
Yes.
Councilmember Whitehead.
Yes.
Okay, bids. Item 12A, request to award the bid for the 2022 Joint and Crack Ceiling Project, M734, to Michigan Joint Ceiling Incorporated of Farmington Hills, Michigan, for the total amount of $100,179.60. This is more routine maintenance. First, a motion, please. Thank you.
Second.
Radner and Burns, thank you. Who would we pick on to discuss this? Would that be back to
Robert,
Director Burns?
City Engineer
Kara, the engineer, city engineer. Last name?
Grissomer.
Grissomer.
Kara Grissomer.
Engineer Grissomer, thank you.
Yes. So our joint and crack sealing program is a preventative maintenance program that is meant to fill the joints and cracks, keep the water out of those as much as possible, keep the dust and dirt out of them as well, because if that fills in, that's going to deteriorate those cracks much faster.
And this is in the roads?
This is in the roads, yes.
And this is the cracks between the cement slabs in the roads?
Generally, it's the non-engineered cracks, but if the saw cut cracks are falling apart or are faulted or something, we will fill those as well.
Okay, so, kind of like you do maintenance on your house?
Yes,
Okay, thank you.
you're welcome.
Any other questions?
Madam Mayor, just one question.
Yes, Councilmember Whitehead.
Have we used this company before?
Yes, we have used the company before.
And we've been pleased with their performance.
Mhm.
Wonderful, thank you. Any further questions? Roll call vote, please.
Mayor Pro Tem Edgar,
Yes.
Mayor McClellan,
Yes,
Councilmember Radner,
Yes.
Councilmember Whitehead,
Yes.
Councilmember Burns.
Yes.
motion carried. Item 12B, this is the request to award the bid for the 2021 Greenfield Road Fence Replacement Project, M735, to Michigan Fence Outlet of Macomb, Michigan, for the total amount of $278,300, and to award the alternate bid for the Lessinger Park Dog Park to Michigan Fence Outlet of Macomb, Michigan, for the total amount of $68,700. Funding for the dog park construction is requested to be appropriated from the general fund balance. First, a motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
Good. Councilmember Whitehead and Mayor Pro Tem, thank you. Who would be, okay. Engineer Grissomer is back. I know that we've had several fence areas, one along 9 Mile, one along McLean, and one along Greenfield, where previously it is like somebody has a green fence and somebody has a white fence and somebody has a fence that hasn't been painted in 30 years and is falling down, and the next person has another fence, and altogether it looks tacky. You don't get the sense of pride. You see greens growing in the fences, you see trees growing out of the fence material. None of the fences match, and it doesn't look good. So we have replaced fences with beautiful fencing on 9 Mile Road and on McLean, and this is going to be the same for this Greenfield project. When I was going and knocking doors, residents have been asking me for years, can't something be done about these ugly fences? And now something's being done. So why two different companies?
Two different projects?
Mm-hmm.
So we're awarding one company two projects. We bid them together in the hopes of the quantities making the pricing more competitive.
Good, so they are both the same company.
Yes.
Good, good, good. Any questions about the dog park construction? We're awarding the bid?
I do have a question.
Yes, Mayor Pro Tem.
The dog park fencing, does that include the fob system that we're going to need?
It is supposed to. It was in the specifications that the contractors used for bidding. I have the question about the fob system into the contractor. He was supposed to get back with me last week, but I haven't heard from him, and I am calling him again tomorrow to confirm that the system he intends can do what we wanted it to do.
We knew that fencing was going to be expensive, but this is almost half of the budget for the dog park.
Yes. The fence prices did go up from about $30 for the 9-mile fence to over $70 per foot, as well as the chain link fencing for the dog park was higher than expected, although it still came in under the budgets, so we just might have to do some more of the improvements in a later year at the dog park.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Madam Mayor, may I
Any
ask
other
a question?
questions? Yes,
Please.
Councilmember Whitehead.
Thank you. Is this the same company who did the 9-mile fences, or is this a different company?
It is a different company.
Okay. Did that company who did 9-mile make a bid at all, or?
Yes, they came in third highest, or third lowest out of 4. So they were second to last, basically.
The inflation that everyone is hearing about is hitting the cities in construction costs and labor costs, so that everything we want to do costs more.
Yes, unfortunately.
So, any further questions? Are we ready to vote? Roll call, please.
Mayor McClellan.
Yes.
Councilmember Radner.
Yes.
Councilmember Whitehead.
Yes.
Councilmember Burns.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Edgar.
Yes.
Motion carried unanimously. Item 13, ordinances. This is second reading and adoption of the proposed text amendments to the City of Oak Park zoning ordinance in the following sections: Article 1, Division 2, Article 2, Division 2, Article 2, Division 3, Article 3, Division 1, Article 3, Division 2, Article 4, Division 1, Article 4, Division 3, Article 4, Division 4, Article 5, Division 3, Article 5, Division 4, Article 6, Division 1, Article 6, Division 2. The proposed zoning amendments pertain to a variety of improvements that incorporate clarifications, additions, and/or deletions to specific sections of the ordinance, and an amazing amount of work has been done on this because it sat the same for decades. So we are now looking at it to correct it, to improve it, to make it fit what we want to see in Oak Park. These are mostly small additions. We need a motion to approve the second reading and adoption.
So moved.
Thank you, Councilmember Radner. And a second, please.
Second?
Thank you, Councilmember Burns. Can someone, even though this was up 2 weeks ago, can someone come up and give us just a little summary?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. We had approved our new zoning ordinances last May, and since then, we've been able to actually use them in practice, as well as code enforcement using them in practice. The mayor already mentioned that we have some minor errors in spelling, punctuation, things like that, as well as numbering errors that we didn't catch in the first revision. So we plan to come to Planning Commission as well as City Council on a quarterly basis to bring any new changes. Now that we've been able to use it, we did find some errors, things that code enforcement needed language changed in order to enforce the way they have been over the years, or some items that were completely left out, so we needed to add those back in. But the very minor changes that we made within these amendments.
Any questions? Ready to vote. Thank you. Roll call.
Councilmember Radner.
Yes.
Councilmember Whitehead.
Yes.
Councilmember Burns.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Edgar.
Yes.
Mayor McClellan.
Yes, motion carried. We have nothing from the city attorney. City manager, Eric Tungate.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of council. I'd like to request Assistant City Manager / Director of Public Works / former city engineer, that's it, Kevin Yee, to join me at the podium, please.
Thank you. A request from Commercial Ground Services for a contract extension for the 2021 landscape maintenance project is attached. Commercial Ground Services has indicated they'd like to execute the one-year extension that's in their contract and continue the unit prices through 2022. The original 2020 contract actually allowed for 2 one-year extensions, and this will be the final one. The project includes landscape maintenance at the city complex, 9 and Coolidge intersection, 9 Mile Road corridor, as well as the city welcome signage. There's a total of $70,000 budgeted in the major street fund and general fund for these projects. It is recommended City Council approve the offer for the contract extension from Commercial Ground Services for the 2022 landscape maintenance project M742 for the total amount of $66,640.
Okay, we need an motion to approve the contract extension.
So moved.
Thank you. Burns and Edgar, thank you. Let's see, any questions about the ground? Back in the day, the city staff did all of this, and then we started putting it out because it could be done cheaper.
So there's several things that happened. We started, and we've kind of changed well, first of all, our manpower has been reduced over the years, but we did kind of change our focus, and we've been doing a lot more, and the Public Works Department has been doing a lot more cleanup for code enforcement and those sorts of things, because it was very difficult to get a contractor on demand to do those services. So we've been kind of changing our focus to do those sorts of cleanups and that sort of work to assist code enforcement. And in the meantime, we really don't have an expertise in landscaping currently on our staff. So we're actually looking to change that and get better qualified individuals that work for the Public Works Department for horticulture and even an arborist. So we're looking at doing those and getting those experts on our staff, but we currently don't have them, and we're able to do this contract, like you had mentioned, as far as saving money. This is a pretty reasonable amount for the amount of work that they're going to do. So we found that it's worked out well for us, and we've done it the last few years, and we'd like to continue to do it at least for now.
We want to take advantage of Director Yee's institutional knowledge while we still have him. All right, we have a motion, correct? Yes, okay. Any questions about the ground services extension? Nope. A roll call, please.
Councilmember Whitehead.
Yes.
Councilmember Burns.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Edgar.
Yes.
Mayor McClellan.
Yes.
Councilmember Radner.
Yes.
Motion carried unanimously.
Assistant City Manager Yee, 15B, please.
Thank you. Along the same lines, attaches a request from Expert Lawn and Snow LLC for a contract extension from the 2021 lawn maintenance contract M721. Expert has indicated they would like to execute the one-year extension for the unit prices for this project to perform the 2022 lawn maintenance contract M743. This contract allows for 2 one-year extensions. This project will mow and litter pick the lawns in the city's parks, grounds, and rights-of-way. There is a total of $138,000 budgeted in the major and local street fund, water and sewer fund, and public works other parks budget for these expenditures. It is recommended City Council approve the offer for a contract extension from Experts Lawn and Snow LLC for the 2022 lawn maintenance contract M743 for the total amount of $112,488.
Right. Okay. Do we have a motion? No. Okay. Need a motion to approve the contract extension.
So moved.
Thank you. Burns, and second, Radner? Okay. Discussion or questions?
Yes, I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
Kevin, so I know this is the newer company that we got a year or 2 ago because we were having issues before, so how's the performance?
Correct.
You've been satisfied with it? And
Yes, they've done a pretty good job for us, but yes, you do have a good memory, because we have had a lot of problems, and I think we had 2 lawn maintenance contractors that we had to discontinue working with.
Correct. Okay.
Yeah. Any further question? Roll call, please.
Councilmember Burns.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Edgar,
Yes.
Mayor McClellan,
Yes,
Councilmember Radner,
Yes.
Councilmember Whitehead.
Yes.
motion carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
Council members, one thing before we get to 15C, I did want to point out that you were provided with a copy of the dates and times for our council budget sessions, and these obviously will be meetings that will be open to the public to move forward in our budget process. I would like to ask our Communications Director, Courtney Flynn, to join me at the podium for 15C, please.
Good evening, everyone. Tonight we have the March community announcements. So first I will start off with tomorrow, beginning at 11 a.m. Local business Luxury Auto Spa is partnering with our public safety department. Is partnering with our public safety department for a free gun lock giveaway that starts at 11 a.m. And it's not on the sheet. I did not put it on the sheet, but it is tomorrow from 11 a.m. until 6 p.m. when the business closes, and in the afternoon from I believe 11:30 till 1, there will also be a free food truck giving away food. So and free gun
And
lock.
where is this located again?
Luxury Auto Spa on 9 Mile. And then with our recreation department, we have Doll Making 102, which is on March 23rd from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. This class will cover the basics of fiber art doll making as each participant creates their own Sweetwater mermaid in anticipation of the summer months. This class is designed for adults and it's $45 per resident. There's also a Doll Making 101 class, which is on March 26th from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. And this class is designed for adults and any children ages 8 and up. And this is a way for them to spend special time together as they create a fairy wrap doll, and this cost is also $45 per resident. The recreation continues to offer theater trips. The the Donna Summer musical is sold out, and the recreation department is also offering Ladies in Lavender. And for more information on those, you can call the recreation department. And then with our library, we have our Friends of the Oak Park Library Bag of Books sale, which started today and goes on through March 20th. There's also one-on-one technology assistance being offered through the library on a continuous basis, and you can call them to make an appointment and to learn more. On April 19th, they have the Kungana West African Drum and Dance Company. This will be performed, this group will perform at the library beginning at 4 p.m., and this is aimed at a teen audience. And then finally, our library will be offering after-school tutoring in partnership with Eaton Academy. The tutoring sessions will be on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays, and for more information, you can call Eaton Academy. And then finally, we have another COVID vaccine clinic on March 23rd in the community center from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m.
Thank you, Director Flynn. Madam Mayor, members of council, that completes the city manager report for this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, City Manager Tungate. We are now on call to the audience. Sorry, whoops.
City council.
City Council? Oh, resolution. Got it. 16, thank you. There is a resolution changing council member appointments to city boards and commissions. And City Clerk Ed Norris, would you like to cover this one?
I sure will. We select council appointments to boards and commissions at the organizational meeting, which happens in November after an election. And there have been some requests for changes. So before you is a resolution which would change some appointments. So one would be Sean Whitehead would be removed from the Traffic Safety Board. Julie Edgar removed from the Recycling Commission and added to the Traffic Safety Board, and Solomon Radner added to the Recycling Commission. So those would be the changes. So that resolution is before the council.
Okay. Motion to accept the resolution?
So moved.
Okay, Redmond.
Second.
And second? Did I miss a second?
Yeah, I did.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't hear you. Burns, thank you. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, thanks for your flexibility and willingness to serve. I appreciate it ever so much. Now, we're going to call to the audience. Please feel free to come up, give us your name and address, limit your comments to 3 minutes. Welcome. Say it again. We think that the green light isn't on.
How's that sound?
Is that one on?
Is that better?
Yes,
Hello.
all right, everybody's happy.
My name is Dana Braxton. I'm at 21600 Kipling. So I live on North End and Kipling. So I was at the last meeting and I wanted to, I came back and I want to discuss, as you can see, these are all the people that actually live near me. We're all on Kipling Street. Actually, we're south of 9 Mile, west of Coolidge, most of us. And so I came to the last meeting, heard all the things that we're doing in the city, all the great things that we are doing. But a lot of things were on the north side of 9 Mile. We didn't hear a lot of things that are done on the south side of 9 Mile. Again, we're concentrated basically around North End. We didn't hear a lot of things, but so that's why we're all kind of here, to kind of, participate more, give our feedback more, because we can't say these are our issues, and if you don't know our issues, you can't fix them. So again,
Amen.
that's why we're going to start showing up more. We just want to let you know that we'll be here a lot more, coming to the meetings. So I have a few little notes. One of the big issues that we had was North End. I know that's on the schedule to be fixed. North End is horrible.
Say that a little louder as what?
North End.
North End.
To redo North End is horrible. So that's one of the issues everybody was having. Do we have an ETA on North End?
Do you know when we are?
It should be starting in the next couple months.
Oh, great to hear. Also,
So working over the summer, is that the plan?
They'll be constructing, so once the school closes for the summer in June, then that's when the major construction's gonna go through. It'll be done in a few phases, but, we hope to have most of the work done by the time the school opens back up in September.
okay, great to hear.
Okay, so for those of you who couldn't hear, the North End, that has badly needed a little love for quite a number of decades. When they work it around the school schedule, so that when school closes, they start their process and they want to get done before the kids come back to school in the fall. So, and I would love this group to form a block club and invite the mayor and
We actually were talking about it. So.
city manager to come to your block club, and you can ask us questions directly. Welcome to come on back to council meetings. We love having you. We want to hear what's on your mind, and this is a city that listens to its residents. If we had more money, we would have fixed that years ago, but we're, as far as that road goes.
Okay, so one of the other issues that we're having is the new garbage company.
Oh,
We're
yes.
kind of giving them a little time because we know there's a little curve, a learning curve. But compared to the last company you had, we're having a lot of issues between leaving trash out, not getting all the trash out of the things, leaving, the cans everywhere. So again, trying to give them a little leeway. But, we tried to call the departments, nothing's changing, so that's why we kind of brought it this way.
That's north of 9 Mile too, by the way.
Yes,
Okay.
yeah, they're not picking on your neighborhood.
Right, so.
That's everywhere.
I was online and I saw that there's a residential service coordinator, a new position.
Yes.
So I thought that would be maybe a good resource for us. Can you explain to us exactly what that position does? So maybe that will help us out a little bit.
Our city manager, Eric Tungate, will let you know exactly. There is one person now in charge of getting your concerns. You can always call us, somebody on city council, but we've hired somebody to be like an ombudsman to find out what the problem is. He will follow that problem, not just say, take it to this next person. He will follow that problem until it is solved, and resolved and put it on his list of things.
Tim,
So
short,
we are
Tim.
listening even harder to you. So how do we get to Tim?
So is Tim our first, is he our first line of defense, or should we go to the department first? Should we come here, City Hall? How does he fit into the whole scheme?
So, you may go wherever you'd like. You can come directly to me, too.
Right. Well, there's a protocol. We'd like to.
There's
you
a
know,
protocol, right. So you are more than welcome to contact Tim. His last name is Johorski. Crystal, his direct line is what?
He says he didn't hear the name. Sikorsky, right? It's-
And his direct, if people want to call him directly, what is the?
Do we have his
Oh, she's
number?
looking at.
We're
Well,
looking it up?
Regardless, people can always call the city at 691-7410. And depending, as the mayor did a very good job of stating what the tasks are and the goals are of that person in that position. But ultimately, it's the difference between when you have a problem and you contact the city, whatever that means, and your complaint or your concern gets lost. This is an opportunity for you to be heard and for this person to ultimately take your concern from point A to resolution, point B, resolution.
Okay.
So that's why we implemented it and why we're expending resources towards it.
Okay, that sounds great. But again, in the big scheme of things, what would you like us to do? Again, if we had
Well-
for garbage, for example, we have a garbage issue, do you want us to call him? Do you want us to call the department, the garbage department?
For now, I think it's probably best to contact the Department of Public Works with
Okay.
a garbage-related issue. And I think, just if I could, obviously a change to a new garbage company is a huge change, as you correctly stated. Also, going back to the Resident Services Coordinator position, we're not ready yet, but pretty soon we'll be announcing that we will have a new, more capable online platform.
Okay.
And this platform will allow you to go online and fill out a form, and your requests will be met. And I believe it even includes a map that, if you've got a complaint about a pothole, you can go online and you'll be able to see that, oh, somebody else has filed the same complaint.
Okay.
I don't need to do it, so it's being addressed. And then it'll have a whole action plan associated with that and a timeline of events for how the city is addressing that.
Okay, and that would be online, but we have a lot of seniors. I'm actually one of
Right,
the-
so right, and that's why we have the Resident Services Coordinator position, because for those people that don't feel comfortable doing that or don't want to do that, they're more than welcome to contact Tim directly.
Perfect, because we have a lot of seniors. I'm actually one of the youngest homeowners, and I've been here almost 50 years myself. So I'm actually one of the youngest, so, everybody else is not so computer savvy, for lack of a
Absolutely.
better
Right.
term. So I just want to give them options that they can, get their information out and the things that they need addressed. I just
So
wanna
if
make
you
sure that's
like
being taken
computers,
care of.
you can report the issue on a computer. If you like doing email, you can report it by email, and we will get all that information to you, so you have the numbers and the email. And old-time phones work just fine. We're happy to do old-time phones also, and we want to be more responsive to you. There are a lot of times when somebody calls with a complaint about a street, pothole or a street repair, and it feels like that your complaint was just sucked into a black hole somewhere, that nobody's paying any attention to it, or a request to fix a tree. And there is a long list of trees that are requested. You are on the list, but nobody gets back to you and says, so that you're not aware of it. We're trying to be more responsive and make you feel like you're really being heard and something is happening.
Could I just say,
Yes.
just want to clarify something. So we should be getting back with you now. So if we're not getting back with you now, I want to hear about it. So it is our job to get back with you, and in almost every instance, we are doing that currently. So it is not acceptable if we're not getting back with you. I want to make that clear.
Okay.
This is a more adept way of addressing your concern.
Okay.
And, ultimately, at the end of the year, we'll be able to look back on the complaints that we have fielded, and it's not just complaints, sometimes they're recommendations or something positive, whatever.
Right.
And we'll be able to look back and reflect back on that, and then begin to look at ways to better appropriate your tax dollars towards those priorities.
Perfect, sounds great.
Why did we switch companies?
We're actually not going to switch companies, we're just upgrading our services with the same company. Oh, you mean garbage companies?
Garbage company.
We switched companies because we had no choice. So our previous supplier, Tringali, told us they are discontinuing our contract. So it wasn't our choice.
Okay.
But if you have specific concerns as it relates to garbage pickup, then of course, call the Department of Public
Okay.
Works for now, or Tim, who can then work on your concern. I'm looking at Crystal Van
Okay,
Vleck over
gotcha.
here because she's in charge of that.
Gotcha.
That's one of the departments she's in
Okay.
charge of.
No problem. And you answered the question about the online system. And then one other concern that I had, when I came to the meeting last time, I tried to disseminate the information to all the people, the residents, all the things that we're doing in the city. And a lot of the seniors, because they were, a lot of the information was online, but they weren't able to get online, again, just, due to them not being on computers and not streaming, things of that nature. And so I found out a lot of them also they weren't receiving the magazines. And I would assume that outside of the meetings, that's the only thing they're gonna get as far as getting this information to them. Unless there's something else that I didn't hear at the meetings, or something else to get the
If they
information.
are,
If not,
do
who
they
would
get
talk to?
email? Because we do a lot on,
Some of them don't.
don't.
Some of them don't.
Yeah.
Some of them do, and they seem to be
If
managing
it's
a little bit
email,
better.
we have a mayor's message that goes out once a month. I write all the details down. You can sign up to get that email if that's something that you are comfortable doing. Hard copies, it's expensive to send out a hard copy of something. That's why we're doing it quarterly, but we try and stuff as much as we can into those magazines.
But all the residents are supposed to still get the magazines, correct?
Can I
Yes.
just,
Are they?
so, yes, so if you're,
Okay.
if you know of people, or people here
Right.
with you tonight who are not getting a magazine, absolutely, then let us
Right.
know.
Okay.
In fact, our communications director, Courtney Flynn, is in the back there coming out right
Gotcha.
now. If you want to provide an address, we can
I'll
check
even
into
get-
it, but
I wasn't received, I've received it about 2 years, but I'm okay.
every
I can go
resident should be
online,
receiving one.
But for the other residents, I just want to have a name and a contact that I can, pass it on and say, hey, this is who you contact to get this. Because again, they don't get online, this may be their only way to get any kind of communication. Some of them don't even
Sure.
go out, so that's about it. So that's it, and again, like I say, we
And
may
then-
not be at every meeting, but we will have a representative
Please come
here.
back. We love
each
to
one.
have you
So,
at every
thank you.
meeting. You are officially invited.
You're an excellent spokesperson.
Yes, absolutely.
Can I say one more thing?
Yes.
I just wanted to add, if I could, for those of you who are getting your monthly utility bill now, you'll note that we're putting more information in your utility bill envelope. And that's another way that we've changed the way we're communicating. So we're going to be stuffing those with, one-pagers on other things that you'll need to know as well. So expect more of that to come.
And probably one thing on who to call.
Yes.
That.
Hello, my name is Cynthia Randall. My address is 21140 Gardner Street. I've been there since 1976. I've seen so many different changes in this city. I'm an old head. But my street is the horseshoe of Kenosha Gardner. They usually come down our street with the, and take up the snow, and then they'll do usually we'll do a little salt. We have not had that for a while. They haven't been on Gardner, Kenosha. The horseshoe there that ends right into Greenbrier, we have not had any snow removal trucks come down our street for the last time we had snow.
Mention to that gentleman right behind you, Kevin Yee.
He drives
Yeah.
the trucks.
Yeah.
You drive the truck? Okay, I want to see you. I'll be looking. Okay.
Please let us know when there's snow.
Okay.
Call us right away.
All right, we will. We'll do that. I'm not shy, believe me.
Thank you. Thank you for coming.
Good evening. My name is Elzada Gibson. I live at 21711 Kipling Street. I have talked to Dan Fairless. I have called the city manager. I have called Carolyn Burns, and I'm yet to get a phone call. And this is in regards to the improper inspection that was done at my house on the gas line. I had a generator that I ordered in 2020 It was delivered in May. It was unboxed. It was put on a platform, waiting for the guy to come. Chris came out and approved the gas line. When my generator did not work, I called Generac. They sent an inspector out. And he told me it's a good thing it didn't work because the whole thing is improper. The gas line was too small. The gas line was an improper distance from the home. And I'm asking you that your inspectors, I'm hoping they get the proper training when they do these things.
Let's see, I should give your address to the gentleman.
1711 Kipling Street. And I'm quite sure if you talk to Mr. Fearless, in fact, I can play you a recording from one of the guys from your city that promised me that this would be taken care of.
Thank you. Thank you for coming.
I am disgusted.
Yeah.
My house could have been blown up at a mistake.
Hello,
Welcome.
my name is Cynthia Fisher. I live at 13341 West 9 Mile Road in the condos. And I moved there in 2018. When I came in, the windows, the building has been there, it was built in 1966, 67. All the windows, the roof, everything has been there since then. So when I came in, the people were running the building, they were taking all the money and not paying anything, so they cut the water off and something else before I came there, so all the people moved out. So the places went up for sale for like $3,000 and $4,000. Well, you get you one, and then you come and you fix it up. So we got everything together. We had meetings with the lawyers and everybody. We went to the judge, and they told us if we didn't get that place together, they was gonna tear everything out. So we went in, my brother-in-law, he was the president, I was the vice president, my sister was the secretary, and this lady, Elaine Barnes, was the treasurer. We came in, we cleaned the building up, we put all the stuff in, they said, but the back has two sides, it's a brown side and a white side. The white side was still selling drugs and killing people back there, you see what I'm saying? So they said they was gonna tear them down, so they ended up moving because they cut the water off. So I'm in my place. I go to my brother-in-law, I told him what we need to do when we have the meetings, we should get a management team, but they can't tell us how to spend our money, we tell them. So what happened was, he was the president, I'm the vice president, he let me do some little mediocre stuff, but he's handling the money. He brought some people in my house, my birthday was Sunday, so I went down to the casino to treat myself. I come back, it's people, I heard them up on my roof, they walk on my roof all the time. They done took the 2-bedroom windows out the back of my house, then come in and painted my walls, and put some glass windows in. They didn't have all that kind of stuff, if it break, it'll do the little crumbly stuff, that's what was in there then. And I've been going to the police say, he can come in my house if he wants to. I said, no, but I paid, I'm not renting, this is my condo, and everything I do, he tell me I have to do it. So he beat me up in 2021. I went to the police. They won't take any of my, they haven't given me one police report. A little girl, 15, speeding, she ran into my car. Well, she was driving up on the sidewalk down there on 9 Mile and Coolidge, right on the 9 Mile side of CVS. She turned, she was speeding, 15 years old. Her grandmother's in the car with her. She had a permit. She's speeding down the street. And when she turned to keep from hitting me, she just had to keep going up. And she was, so I'm driving, I'm seeing something right here. And I'm like, it's a
Excuse
car.
me, ma'am, Director Cooper is right in the hall. Do you want to talk to him?
I've called Director Cooper. I've called Director Cooper 10,000 times.
Well, if you'd like to talk to him directly, he's right here,
Where?
right in the hall. Yep,
That's Director Cooper right here?
yes.
Okay, so they came, I paid for my building. Okay.
We have a 3-minute limit, but
I'm sorry, I'm so sorry, but I was scared.
You got
They
a
was-
lot.
They was in my house doing stuff when I was asleep.
please talk to Director Cooper in the back. Thank you for coming.
Yes, my name is Edward Howard. I live at 21630 Kipling. I've been there since 1978. I had one, at first I have 2 questions, but now I got 3. I was wondering why you got these letters so small under 17. You know, we citizens, our eyes are not the best. But the question is, we have a deer problem, and I don't know what to do, you know, these.
Deer.
Deer.
Yes.
Deer.
When the deer were living in the Armory property, and then we started developing the Armory property, and the deer went into the subdivisions, and the city manager tried to get the state to help do something with relocating the deer or something, and they will not do that. And we are, at this point, at a loss about what to do with the deer.
May I?
Please.
So, I hear you. There are more deer in the inner ring suburbs. And this is not just an occurrence that's happening in the Metro Detroit area. It's happening in other major metropolitan areas as well. In fact, in Chicago, they have a coyote problem in the city of Chicago. So, yes, part of this goes back, as the mayor correctly states, to the Armory site being redeveloped in our city. Part of it is also just that there are more deer. There are just, you know, the winters aren't as harsh, and there are just more deer and more wildlife. And so while they're there, I mean, obviously, you know, they're going to be there. Leave them alone. Let them do their thing. And if they run out in front of traffic, it causes traffic issues, of course, and safety issues. But we'll do our very best to address those as they come about.
Okay.
And I wish I had a better answer for you than that, but that is the truth of the matter.
Yeah, the second question, have you had any feedback from DTE about the power outages we have so often?
Oh, yeah. City Manager Tunge.
So, yeah, and I'm glad that you brought that up. And I, you know, give you a little bit of my personal opinion for what it's worth. But I think DTE, since the past summer outages that we've all experienced, obviously, is doing a better job of addressing those. They are quadrupling their investment in the city of Oak Park. Some of you have probably seen their trucks and vehicles out here doing improvements to the infrastructure. But the reality is their infrastructure is by far and away lacking, and there's a tremendous amount of improvement and more investment that's needed. They promised us they're going to do it. They've promised us lots of things in the past, but we'll see.
All right, thank you.
What was your third thing?
Edward.
What's that?
Edward Howard.
Oh, you said you had a third question
no,
that came up?
I was talking about small print. No, okay.
For those who are having problems with the garbage collection, changing vendors wasn't our choice. It is not a fun job to have. I talked to our Department of Public Works director. It is hard, brutal work in all kinds of weather. People are not dying to do it. It is a hard job. They get only complaints. This week, I forgot to put my garbage cans out. My husband said, "Oh, the truck is coming." I ran out and I said, "Would you wait 1 second while I run and get my garbage can?" He said, "I'll get your garbage can." So here's this guy who's stepping up and down and up and down and up and down 500 times a day, running and getting my garbage can, which was my job to do. And I called the management company to tell them thank you for somebody going out of their way to do a kind deed. It's not perfect. We're going to try and work with them, They will improve as time goes on. We know it's not perfect. Not many choices. So if you see something good, please report that too. And thank you again. And by the way, we have boards and commissions. If anybody, that's how I got into this mess, is I retired. And well, let that be a lesson to you. So we have boards and commissions in the city, and if you want to get active and make a difference in your city, please, there's a little one-page application you can fill in just down the block, down the hallway there. We would love to have you as part of the solution to our any kind of city issues. When I started, I didn't even know we had boards and commissions. I didn't know how you applied for them. I didn't know what kind of special thing you needed to apply. You don't need anything special, just an interest and a willingness to spend 1 hour a month helping your city. So Uncle Sam wants you. Hello.
Hi. How are you? Ken Sherman, Jerome and Oak Park. Talking about the dare problem, the city of Ann Arbor has a yearly program that they use to thin out their dare problem. So
Which is what?
Huh?
What did they do?
They shoot the dares, but it's
Oh.
but it's in coordination, you know, with the University of Michigan and the city of Ann Arbor. So I mean,
right.
obviously there's solutions to, you know, the deer problem that, you know, could be looked into. My second issue was a couple weeks ago, could have been even last week, I got a handbill on the door saying that AT&T was going to be in the neighborhood to do work. So right after that handbill arrived, there were trucks, cherry picker trucks that rolled into my neighborhood on Jerome and private vehicles. Now, the cherry picker trucks had no identification on them, okay?
I noticed that, yes.
And I asked the people that were working who they were working for, and to show me ID. Well, they had no ID to show me. I called the Mr. Beard's office, and they said, well, they don't concern themselves with those types of companies, only city employees and people who are soliciting. I called the police department because I wanted to make certain that these folks were who they
Kosher,
said they were, and they said that they knew that they were out, you know, doing work. But my concern is that these people were up and down, you know, my block, and I'm sure others, like for at least a week, going in the backyard, doing whatever work they were doing, and having no identification on them to prove who they were working for.
On my
And I
block, they
even
came and
left
knocked
them-
on the door and said that they were working for DTE, must be subcontracting with DTE?
You said AT&T. Well,
AT&T?
These folks were AT&T. And I even called Mr. Tungate's voicemail and left a message, but unfortunately, I didn't hear back from you.
Okay.
So I'm concerned that, you know, maybe the city needs to look into some kind of policy of,
Identification.
Okay, because you're always encouraged to ask for ID.
Right.
So you ask for ID, and they have no ID to show you.
Interesting. We will look into that. Thank you. You always bring up such interesting things that
Thanks.
we don't
And
notice.
my third point is about the garbage. I think, you know, when you switched over through no fault of your own to, you know, the new garbage company, I told you that I had done some research, and there were a number of complaints by other city municipalities about the new garbage company. And I also had brought up after they started that they were leaving the garbage containers in front of the drive. So if you wanted to access your driveway, you had to get out of your car, move the containers to get up your drive. I mean, the other issues that are going on with them is that they don't empty the trash fully, and there's more trash blowing on the street than there was before they came. So they don't,
So I
they're not
noticed that there's
conscientious.
one truck where it's a one-man truck. Yeah, that one guy drives down the house, jumps out and empties the garbage, like a one-man, yes?
That
Some of
used
them,
to be
some of
with-
them are two men, one's
Yeah.
driving and one's doing the garbage.
Yeah.
We're working on it.
So I just wanted to let you know that.
Thank you,
there's still
thank
issues.
you.
If someone wants to come into your house without ID, call the police.
Well, they didn't want to come
No, they
into my
didn't wanna come
house.
in. They didn't wanna come
Backyard.
in. They were just working in the
Backyard,
neighborhood
cutting-
in the
cutting your
backyard.
Coming into
trees.
to your backyard, knocking on your door, and they don't have ID, I'd call the police.
I did,
Oh, good.
but the
That-
police
that's what I
said
would do
that,
too. That's what I
the
think
police
everybody
said
should
they
do.
had a legitimate reason to be there. There wasn't a need to send out any kind of, patrol
Okay,
car.
but they'll know.
So they were familiar with.
Okay, but I, as the average citizen, so, thank you.
Contacted AT&T?
Thank you. All of us know more than any one of us individually. Anybody else? Did we get everybody? You want to give that, if you go over and give it to the gentleman, the good-looking guy over there in the blue shirt. Okay. If there's nobody else that would like to be heard, we have Wayne Short wrote a letter that I wanted to make sure that Director Cooper heard. I'm writing this letter concerning the Oak Park 9/11 emergency response. My family have lived in Oak Park since 1968. Over the years, until the present, I've needed to call 911 on more than one occasion. The response time and professionalism of the officers is to be commended. My thanks and appreciation to all who make this service possible. Sincerely, Wayne Short. So, bravo. Please pass that on. And is the library director here? No, there was another wonderful letter about how terrific the service was in the library, and that had been an issue at some time. So things are better in the library. Give us another chance if you stayed away. We had the director of the week for a while, but we think we've got a good one now, and give us another chance. I don't know if you noticed, but Shepherd Park made it to the 12 best playgrounds in Metro Detroit. They had a picture, little guide for Detroit, listed us as one of the 12 best playgrounds. And you ain't seen nothing yet, because we're doing a study of all of our assets. We're gonna be asking you what you want in parks and in Parks and Rec in the city, and we want your feedback. And so all of us together, pop in with ideas of things you'd like for you, for your kids, for your grandkids, for visitors, whatever. Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you for coming out. It's good to hear from a group of residents, and I agree with the mayor. Maybe you should form a block club of some kind. Anyway, so about garbage pickup, I haven't noticed much of a difference between the new company and the old company, but I have noticed more trash on the streets, for sure. So I think that they may not be as careful as the last company, because I do agree with you, Ken. I notice much more now. Anyway, and then speaking of wildlife, I did see a coyote behind Norup Middle School. First I thought it was a fox, but then I realized that the foxes are much smaller. So yes, they are in the neighborhood. They're here, like deer. I know Senator Moss and Representative Weiss are not here anymore, but I did want to say that I'm sorry that Regina won't be my rep again, nor Jeremy. They do a great job. At least they're still in Southeast Oakland working on our behalf. And that's all I have to say. Thank you for coming out tonight.
Councilmember Radner.
Good night, everybody.
Councilmember Burns.
Thank you for coming out, everyone, and sharing your concerns with the city. Please attend as many meetings as you possibly can.
Yeah, if you have a block club meeting, you can invite the mayor. I come to everything. Anything with free food.
She comes
I'm
for the
there.
free food, right?
Yeah, that's right. Councilmember Whitehead. They had a citywide block club event, that if you have a block club formed in the city, all the block clubs are invited to meet other block clubs and get together on projects and things like that. So I think that would be a fabulous idea if you form one. Who do we call to form a block club?
I think the city clerk's office.
No, it's
You could,
public safety. Who's the public safety guy that you said is the nicest guy?
Devin Benson.
Devin Benson.
Or Steve Arbanowski.
If you call the public safety department and say you'd like to form a block club, you can leave a message for Devin Benson, nice young man, and he will help you get started. And we'd love to have you either form your block club and we'll come to you, keep coming to us.
Mayor.
Or both. Councilmember Whitehead,
I want to thank everyone for coming out. Thanks Senator Moss and State Rep Weiss. I second the mayor that if you guys do throw a block party, I will come out. I'll get on the grill. I'll play basketball. So whatever you guys want to do. So have a good night, everybody.
all right. There being no further business to come before this council, this meeting is adjourned.
that would be.